Welcome to Human Impacts on the Environment. I'd like to give the world a hug. So for today, our curricular theme is geography. We have two content descriptors that we will be focusing on for the 5 lessons: environmental and human influence on the location and characteristics of places and the management of space within them. Influence of people, including the influence of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people on the environmental characteristics of Australian places. We'll be primarily focusing on years 5 and 6.
I wish to acknowledge the Bunurong people, the traditional custodians of the land in which I live, work and play. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging as we work towards reconciliation, and I hope that you all do the same. I extend my respects to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that are present today. These are our learning goals and success criteria for the 5 lessons.
So welcome to our first lesson on climate change. It's called Learning to Shake Hands with Climate Change. The focus of this lesson is to engage students in rich discussions and videos that explore the topic of climate change. We will include key questions such as what is climate change, how is it affecting our planet, and how is it affecting humans and animals. So to begin with, we will show an introduction of a video, and they will think, pair, share about the questions that was in the video. It's called His Epic Message Will Make You Want to Save the World and is very inspirational. You can watch the video in Appendix A. Activity building on new knowledge. In pairs or groups of 3, students will explore the concept of what is climate change and how it is affecting humans and animals. Aim of this activity is to research different types of sources around the topic of climate change, answering each of the questions and provide what information they got. And then the last activity will be evaluating new knowledge. As a group, each pair of 3 presents their information that they have discovered and found to have the most relevance to themselves, writing on the board or digitally on what they have found. Finally, together as a class, they will come up with their own paragraph/statement of what climate change is to them.
Lesson 2, No Planet B, invites students to investigate how us as humans are contributing to climate change and the ways in which climate change is damaging the earth with the extinction of animals, rising sea levels, bushfires, ozone depletion, and many more. The lesson will firstly begin by students connecting to their prior knowledge of climate change through a think, pair, share of how climate change is affecting the earth. Next, students will build on their understanding of climate change through reading an extract from Young Dark Emu, A True History by Bruce Pascoe, developing students' understanding about Indigenous knowledge on climate change. This book delves into a different version of history to the one we have been fed for 200 years and portrays the Aboriginal people as farmers, agriculturalists, and community-minded people rather than nomadic hunter-gatherers. Students will investigate the impacts of climate change on their world and how the earth will look if we don't make changes. They will brainstorm in groups their ideas of what may happen in the future with no change and what this means for the human race. In closing this lesson, students will watch a David Attenborough video which delves into the vision for the future and how to fix climate change.
So lesson 3 is our focus lesson, so don't be a fossil fool, which will focus on students learning and engaging through activities around the ozone layer and why it is depleting. We will go into more detail about this lesson in the coming slides.
Following on from the previous lessons and learning about what contributes to climate change, students will engage in their carbon footprint. Students will explore the changes they can make to reduce their carbon footprint, the starter of a carbon footprint song. Students will be given a small passage from Breaking Habits from the novel Homeland Calling, where they will explore Indigenous perspectives on climate change and how humans are contributing to it. Students will be put into groups to discuss ways in which they can reduce their carbon footprint on ideas from each other's groups, which will be discussed as a whole class. So we have 2 ways that students can do this. We have the Park City Calculator for kids, and we also have the Footprint Calculator, which is a government typical website, depending on the language that they want to use and feel most comfortable using. At the conclusion of the lesson, each student will share something they are willing to change for a week in order to reduce their carbon footprint, such as walking, riding a bike to school rather than driving, and making sure they're turning off their lights or cutting waste consumption.
The final lesson, Eco Warriors, brings the knowledge and the discussions over the last 4 lessons together. The aim of this lesson is to create a capturing poster/online poster on what individuals can do to help climate change. Connecting to prior knowledge, students will share with a partner the action they took to reduce their carbon footprint over the last week. Students will ask the following questions. Did you succeed in this particular action? What was easy? What was difficult about it? Do you think you can maintain this for the rest of your life? Students will then have a group discussion where they will discuss their experience of the changes they made and whether or not other class members had a positive or negative experience and the common themes and changes students made. The teacher will lead this discussion, providing prompting questions where necessary. In developing students' knowledge around climate change, students will create an engaging poster to display in the school community about their chosen topic regarding what individuals can do to help climate change and the impacts and importance it has on the environment. These topics may include walking rather than driving, reducing energy use, and cutting their consumption and waste. To conclude the lesson, a gallery walk will be conducted where students can show off their posters to the class before displaying them around the school.
As mentioned before, lesson 3 is our focus lesson, which is all about learning and engaging through hands-on activities around what the ozone layer is and why it is depleting, whilst creating a student-centered learning environment around predicting, making hypotheses and discussions. To begin this lesson during our activity Connecting to Prior Knowledge is all about connecting and linking to students' prior knowledge around what they believe the ozone layer is. This will be through a class discussion and will be presented through this guided photo above. So if students don't know what the ozone layer is, they can still guess what they think that this photo means. This will be a discussion amongst the students, which the teacher will facilitate prompt questions and get the discussion going. They will do a think, pair, share about what they believe the ozone layer is and why it is depleting. Activity building on new knowledge is through an experiment, trialing what the ozone layer can do. So there'll be 3 groups of 2 groups of 4, which they'll set the experiment up as a team and follow the instructions provided. So students will in each group need 2 bowls of equal size, plastic wrap enough to cover 1 bowl, water, a source of light. This can be a lamp indoors or you can go outside if it's sunny. Students can choose this option, a thermometer, pen and worksheet provided by the teacher. For a brief explanation of what they will do, as we do have a demonstration video. So students will fill the bowls with the same amount of water. They'll measure and record what the temperature is at the start. After that, they'll seal 1 bowl with plastic wrap, which will act as the ozone layer. They'll position the bowls under direct light. They'll set a timer, and whilst they wait, they'll predict what the temperature might be after 30 minutes, after an hour, and which bowl will be hotter and why. After 30 minutes, they'll record the temperature, and after an hour, they'll record the temperature again. And here is the demonstration video for this activity.
What bowl do you reckon will be warmer after the hour is done?
Bowl 2.
Why do you think bowl 2 will be warmer?
Because the glad wrap represents the build-up of greenhouse gases.
When students are waiting for the timer to finish, they will be sticking and pasting their prediction and recording worksheets on a piece of butcher's paper. And on the paper, each student will need to write down what bowl will be hotter and why they believe so. After they have completed their estimate, students will also participate in a scavenger hunt where they will use their iPads to scan QR codes around the classroom. They'll have a worksheet to complete, and when you scan each QR code, you can find relevant information and answers regarding the ozone layer. This is the worksheet that we'll be providing to them. When the timer is up, students will record the temperature of the water of each bowl and write down on their butcher's paper if their answers were correct or incorrect and why they believe so. As a class, we will discuss the students' predictions and answers that they got. To finish off the lesson, we will listen to a YouTube video of a class in America singing the song about fossil fuels, which will link to lesson 4.
Our lessons provide structured sequence in investigating, examining, and understanding the features of climate change using concepts of place, space, environment, sustainability, and change. It addresses scales from personal to global and time periods from a few years to thousands of years. Indigenous and Western perspective in HAS education are pivotal aspects of geographical learning. KDA Crew expresses connections between education and community harmony in a poem in Homeland Calling. Harmony is our community, unity for you and me. Education is truly key if it is truth you seek. The 5 lessons foster students' curiosity and wonder about the dynamic nature of the world's places, people, and environment through student-centered learning. Students examine why places have environmental characteristics and how they have changed due to climate change. Geography has a well-defined and structured place within the Victorian curriculum. These lessons use student-centered approaches to foster support, which encourage students to explore their sense of wonder, curiosity, and understanding about the connectedness between places, people, culture, and environments. Students are provided opportunities to learn independently in student-centered learning and become stronger problem solvers, allowing them to improve their critical reflection thinking. It also increases their conviction in comprehension and execution of their skills. Our lessons also draw upon cross-curriculum priorities, Bloom's taxonomy, and high-impact teaching strategies to improve quality HAS education.
Within each lesson plan, we have tried to incorporate the cross-curriculum priority of Indigenous and Torres Strait Islander histories, as the Victorian curriculum highlights the importance of students developing an understanding into the uniqueness of their culture and the wisdom and knowledge embedded within them. This is done through including the Indigenous author Bruce Pascoe's novel Young Dark Emu, providing students an insight into how Indigenous Australians took care of the land before white settlement. The poem Breaking Habits from Homeland Calling is also included within Lesson 4, addressing the needs for recycling and how it can help the earth. In combination with this, the cross-curriculum priority of sustainability also plays a major role within our curriculum plan, as students are provided with the information to develop their knowledge, skills, values, and worldviews necessary to contribute to more sustainable patterns of living. This is seen throughout the curriculum plan and developing students' understanding of how they can make small changes within their daily lives to better the earth.
Bloom's taxonomy is a hierarchical model of classifying thinking according to 6 cognitive levels of complexity. Our lessons have been tailored to optimize students' learning through beginning at the bottom level of understanding and applying knowledge to climate change, all the way through to evaluating a scientific experiment and creating a poster. We also used HITS to optimize students' learning. Throughout our sequence, our teaching style draws upon the high-impact teaching strategies to further students' understanding. In geography, we structured lessons amongst the 5 lessons to strengthen procedures, scaffold learning via specific steps, activities, and enhances time management taken for tasks, which allow for smooth transitions. Teachers who provide opportunities for students to participate in flexible groups that collaborate on meaningful tasks and respond to questions that support achievement of learning goals, foster healthy classroom environments for critical learning. We use collaborative learning to support meaningful tasks and inviting groups' responses to questions about climate change, and relies on students actively participating in negotiating roles, responsibilities, and outcomes. Questioning is an influential utensil that engages learners, encourages curiosity and in the learning sense, and makes links to students' lives. It involves opportunities for learners to talk together, converse, quarrel, and express thoughts and views. Questioning yields feedback on students' understanding, supports informal and formative assessment, and captures feedbacks on the impact of teaching strategies.
So lesson 1, Our Planet is in Our Hands, makes strong connections to the Year 5-6 Geography Victorian curriculum. This first lesson in our sequence introduces climate change. It asks important questions. What is climate change? how is it affecting our planet, how is it affecting humans, animals, etc. Students break off into groups exploring the interconnections with places and the effects of these interconnections through gathering their own information about climate change and how it is impacting, affecting the planet, humans, animals. Thus, this lesson plan highlights strong connections with the following content description: describe and explain interconnections within places and between places and the effects of these interconnections.
Lesson 2, No Planet B, illustrates aspects of multiple content descriptions. Students demonstrate influence of people, including the influence of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples on the environmental characteristics of Australian places. Through the critical reading of Bruce Pascoe's Young Dark Emu, A True History, students are provided with authentic history as the book portrays Aboriginal people as farmers, agriculturalists, and community-minded people rather than nomadic hunter-gatherers. Students once again are critically analysing and explaining Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander interconnection within places, people, and culture, and the effects of these interconnections.
Lesson 3 is our focus lesson, Don't Be a Fossil Fool. This lesson is a practical approach to observe a small scale of the process of climate change and its effects. Students are exposed to the evidence of global warming, which allows them to explore the health and environmental aspects of the ozone layer depletion. Therefore, students are interpreting, collect and record relevant geographical data and information from the field and secondary sources using ethical protocols. This is another secondary Victorian curriculum content descriptor.
Lesson 4, how big is your carbon footprint? Following on from the previous lessons, learning about what contributes to climate change and the carbon footprint. Students will explore the changes they can make to reduce their carbon footprint and how this reduces the effect on ozone depletion. In this lesson, students will be given a small passage from the novel Homeland Calling, where they will explore an Indigenous perspective on climate change and how humans are contributing to it. Students will be put into groups to discuss ways in which they can reduce their carbon footprint, and ideas from each group will be shared in a whole class discussion. This lesson focuses on the following content descriptors: influence of people, including the influence of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people on the environmental characteristics of Australian places, and environmental and human influences on the location and characteristics of places and the management of spaces within them.
Eco Warriors is our final summary lesson, which will create an engaging poster to put up around the school and community about a chosen topic regarding what individuals can do to help climate change and the impacts and importance it has on the environment. Topics such as walking rather than driving, reducing energy like turning off lights, cutting consumption and waste. Students are encouraged to investigate in critical resources and analyse environmental and human influences on the location and characteristics of places and the management of spaces within them. Throughout studying HASS this semester, there was many elements that our group found powerful. So some of them including was learning about the world we live in today on more of a social level, the history of Australia and seeing where we've come from and how much the country has developed over the years, how HASS can be integrated into many different subjects and learning areas, learning it in a student-led discussion, the importance of student collaboration, seeing how diverse everyone in the classroom's background is and learning little bits about one another. The way HASS is taught is powerful as it has a lot of tacit or inquiry-based learning, and we found this to be a really powerful way to teach HASS.
So to conclude, by investigating, examining and understanding the features of climate change across these 5 lessons, students are encouraged to explore their role in caring for the environment and what they and those around them can do to reduce the scarce impact they may have. Some of the aspects of the HASS curriculum that we have found the most powerful, such as the importance of student collaboration in learning and learning about past and present development of the world we live in today, is incorporated throughout each lesson in this sequence in practical activities and conversations. The lessons are placed to develop the curiosity of each student about the activities and processes they go through in their daily lives that they may or may not realise causes an impact in the environment and the world, not just themselves. By introducing the lessons with Our Planet is in Our Hands, How Big is Your Carbon Footprint, and Eco Warriors, establishes how the collaborative nature of having these impactful conversations and doing these activities relating to climate change inside the classroom are just as effective when taken outside the classroom in an effort to conquer these issues and activate change.